Ladies and gentlemen, do this 1 0-minute priming exercise to reset your entire life. Let me ask you a question. What if you could change the direction of your entire day in just 10 minutes? What if the problem is not that your life is impossible to change, but that you are starting every morning with the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same fears, and the same habits that create the life you're trying to escape? Most people wake up and immediately allow the world to control their state. They check their phone, they read bad news, they compare themselves to strangers, they think about their problems, they worry about the future, and before their feet even touch the floor, they've already surrendered the first battle of the day. But today, you are going to learn how to take those first 10 minutes and use them to reclaim your mind, your energy, your focus, and your power. Because when you change your state, you change your decisions. When you change your decisions, you change your actions. And when you change your actions consistently, you change your entire life. What if the first 10 minutes of your day are quietly deciding the quality of the next 10 hours? What if the moment you open your eyes, you are already entering a battle, not against other people, not against the world, but against the emotional patterns that have been controlling your life? Most people wake up and immediately hand over their mental state to outside forces. They reach for their phone before they reach for their purpose. They consume notifications before they create intention. They allow bad news, other people's opinions, unfinished problems, and yesterday's disappointments to become the first voices in their minds. Then they wonder why they feel distracted, anxious, unmotivated, or powerless before the day has even begun. But you do not have to start your day that way. You can take control of your state before the world has the opportunity to. Control it for you. Your emotional state is not a small detail. It influences the way you think, the decisions you make, the risks you take, the conversations you have, and the actions you avoid. When you are in a weak state, a small problem can feel impossible. When you are in a powerful state, the same problem can become a challenge you're prepared to handle. The circumstances may not have changed, but you have, and that is the breakthrough most people miss. Sometimes the first thing you need to change is not your situation, but the version of yourself facing the situation. So the moment you wake up, change your physical state. Do not remain in the same position that encourages passivity. Stand up, move your body, open your shoulders, lift your head, breathe deeply and deliberately. Your body sends powerful signals to your mind. When you change your posture, your breathing, and your movement, you begin to interrupt the emotional patterns that have become automatic. You are telling yourself, I am not beginning to stay as a victim of my circumstances. I am choosing how I show up. Think about how quickly your state can change through movement. Have you ever felt mentally exhausted, then gone for a walk and returned with a clearer mind? Have you ever felt stressed, then taken a few deep breaths and suddenly felt more in control? That is not weakness. That is the connection between your body and your mind. You do not always have to think your way out of a negative state. Sometimes you must move your way out of it. And here's the hook most people never understand. You do not have to feel powerful before you act powerful. You do not have to wait for motivation before you begin. You do not have to wait for confidence before you take the first step. Action can come before emotion. Movement can come before motivation. A decision can come before confidence. When you repeatedly choose powerful actions, your mind begins to believe the identity behind those actions. Take a deep breath. Inhale slowly and fully. Hold it for a moment. Then release the tension, the doubt, and the mental noise. Do it again. Each breath is a reminder that you are present. You are not trapped in yesterday. You are not required to carry every mistake into today. You have the ability to interrupt the pattern. You have the ability to choose a different response. The world will always offer you reasons to lose your state. Someone may criticize you, a problem may appear, a plan may fail, someone may disappoint you. But if your emotional state depends entirely on what happens around you, you will spend your life being controlled by circumstances. Strength does not mean that nothing affects you. Strength means that you learn how to return to yourself. Before the world demands your attention, give yourself your own attention. Before you absorb everyone else's energy, create your own. Before you allow fear to tell you what is impossible, remind yourself what you've already survived. Your first 10 minutes can become a declaration. I am awake. I am present. I am responsible for my response. I will not allow the world to decide who I become today. You may not be able to control everything that happens during the day, but you can control the state in which you meet it. And when you change your state, you change your perspective. When you change your perspective, you discover options. When you discover options, you take better action. And when you take better action consistently, you begin to create a life that no longer feels like something happening to you, but something you are actively building. What if the biggest thing standing between you and a better life is not a lack of opportunity, but your attention being constantly trapped by everything you believe is missing? Every morning, your mind begins searching. It searches for evidence of what is wrong, what is late, what is difficult, what you do not have, and what might go wrong next. But the mind does not simply observe reality. It learns to look for whatever you repeatedly direct it toward. If you constantly focus on problems, your problems become larger. If you constantly focus on lack, lack becomes the story you tell yourself. But if you deliberately train your attention toward gratitude, strength, opportunity, and possibility, you begin to experience your life through a completely different lens. This is why gratitude is not just a polite habit or a positive phrase you repeat without feeling. Genuine gratitude is a powerful mental shift. It changes the question your mind is asking. Instead of constantly asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what can I learn from this? What do I still have? What opportunity exists here? That change in questioning can completely transform the direction of your thoughts. The situation may not immediately change, but your ability to respond to it changes. And that can be the difference between remaining stuck and moving forward. Think about how easily one negative event can dominate an entire day. You can receive 10 compliments, but one criticism stays in your mind for hours. You can have 100 things going well, but your attention becomes consumed by the one thing that went wrong. This is how the mind works when it is left untrained. It naturally gives more attention to threats, problems, and uncertainty, but you are not required to let your automatic thoughts run your entire life. You can train your focus. Take a moment each morning and identify 3 things you genuinely appreciate. Do not rush through them. Do not simply say, I am grateful for my family, and immediately move on. Feel the meaning behind it. Think about the people who have supported you. Think about the opportunities you still have. Think about the fact that you woke up with another day in front of you. A day that contains choices you have never made before. You may not have everything you want, but you still possess something incredibly valuable, the ability to take another step. And here is the question that can change your entire perspective. What if you woke up tomorrow with only the things you were grateful for today? What would remain? Your health, your family, your ability to learn, your talents, your home, your opportunities, your second chances. This question forces you to recognize how much of your life you may be taking for granted. Gratitude does not mean you stop pursuing more. It means you stop believing that your life has no value until you get more. There's a difference between ambition and dissatisfaction. Ambition says, I am grateful for where I am, and I'm committed to growing. Dissatisfaction says, I cannot be happy until everything changes. One creates energy, the other drains it. You can want more without despising what you have. You can pursue success without constantly telling yourself that you are failing. You can be grateful for today's progress while still working toward tomorrow's vision. When you practice gratitude consistently, you begin to notice what you previously ignored. You see the lesson inside the setback. You recognize the opportunity inside the challenge. You become more aware of the people who support you, the skills you possess, and the possibilities that remain available. Your attention begins to move from limitation to resourcefulness. This is the power of beginning your day with gratitude. You are not pretending that your problems do not exist. You are refusing to let your problems become the only truth you can see. You are reminding yourself that even in difficult seasons, something remains within your control. Your perspective, your effort, your response, and your decision to continue. The moment you shift your focus from what do I lack to what can I do with what I have, your entire energy begins to change. Complaining creates helplessness. Gratitude creates awareness. Awareness creates options, and options create action. So before you allow the demands of the day to overwhelm you, pause and recognize what is already present. Feel the strength of what you have survived. Appreciate the opportunity to improve. Respect the people who have helped you. Value the time you still possess. Then carry that energy into the day, not as someone who has everything, but as someone who understands that what they already have may be enough to begin building everything. They still desire, what if the person you need to believe in most is the person you have been ignoring every single day? Yourself. Many people spend years waiting for someone else to rescue them, validate them, encourage them, or finally tell them that they are capable. They wait for the perfect mentor, the perfect opportunity, the perfect relationship, or the perfect moment when everything suddenly becomes clear. But there is a dangerous cost to waiting for permission to become who you were meant to be. Every day you delay believing in your own potential, you give more power to doubt. And doubt, when repeated long enough, begins to feel like truth. Your current circumstances are not the complete definition of your life. They are simply the place where you are standing right now. There is a difference between your present situation and your ultimate potential. You may be struggling financially, but that does not mean you are destined to remain financially stuck. You may have failed, but failure does not mean you are a failure. You may have been rejected, but rejection does not mean you are unworthy. You may have made terrible decisions, but your past decisions do not have the authority to control every decision you make from this moment forward. Here's a question that can interrupt years of self-doubt. What if your greatest evidence of strength is hidden inside the moments you thought would destroy you? Think about the difficult seasons you have already survived. There were moments when you did not know how you would continue, yet somehow you did. There were days when you felt exhausted, disappointed, heartbroken, confused, or afraid, and still you kept moving. You may not have felt strong at the time, but survival itself was evidence that something inside you refused to surrender. That strength is still there. You do not need to feel powerful every morning. You do not need to wake up with absolute certainty. You do not need to eliminate fear before you take action. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to move while fear is present. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to yourself is not, I am not afraid. It is, I may be afraid, but I am moving anyway. This is where connecting with your purpose becomes essential. If your only reason for pursuing a goal is temporary excitement, you will eventually quit when the excitement disappears. But when your actions are connected to something deeper, you become more resilient. Ask yourself, why does this matter to me? Who am I becoming through this process? What kind of life am I trying to create? Who benefits when I become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and more capable? Purpose gives pain a direction. It transforms struggle from meaningless suffering into part of a larger journey. The difficult workout is no longer just difficult. It is building the body and discipline you need. The long hours of study are no longer just exhausting. They are developing the knowledge that can create new opportunities. The uncomfortable conversation is no longer simply painful. It may be necessary for your growth. You must also understand that your identity is shaped by the promises you keep to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and then abandon it, you teach your mind that your own word cannot be trusted. But every time you make a commitment and follow through, even a small one, you rebuild self-trust. Wake up when you said you would. Complete the task you promised yourself you would complete. Take the step you've been avoiding. These actions may appear small, but they are powerful votes for the person you are becoming. Before you begin your day, remind yourself that your life is still being written. You are not permanently trapped by your past. You are not disqualified because you have struggled. You are not finished because you have failed. You are still capable of learning, adapting, rebuilding, and rising. Connect with something greater than your immediate frustration. Connect with your purpose. Connect with your faith, your vision, your values, or the future you are determined to create. Then ask yourself one powerful question. What would I do today if I truly believed that my future was still possible? Now take that action, because sometimes the breakthrough does not begin when your circumstances change. Sometimes it begins when you stop allowing your circumstances to convince you that change is impossible. What if you could see the future version of yourself before the world ever sees it? What if the life you keep imagining is not impossible, but simply waiting for you to become the person capable of creating? Every major achievement begins twice, first in the mind and then in reality. Before a building is constructed, it exists as a blueprint. Before a business becomes successful, it exists as an idea. Before a person transforms their life, they must first develop a clear picture of who they are becoming. This is why visualization is so powerful. It gives your mind a direction. Without a clear direction, your energy becomes scattered. You may work hard, but you do not know exactly what you are working toward. You may stay busy, but you are not necessarily moving forward. A powerful vision gives your effort meaning. The same excuses, the same fears, or would you see someone who finally decided to take control? The answer is being written through your actions today. Visualization is not about pretending that success will magically appear. It is about programming your mind to recognize the person you are committed to becoming. When you repeatedly see yourself acting with discipline, courage, and purpose, you begin to create a mental standard for your behavior. Your mind begins to recognize those actions as part of your identity. But do not make your vision vague, make it emotional and specific. What does your ideal day look like? How do you wake up? How do you speak? What do you prioritize? What do you no longer tolerate? What habits have disappeared? What new standards have become normal? What kind of person are you when pressure arrives? The clearer your vision becomes, the easier it becomes to make decisions. When you know who you're becoming, certain choices become obvious. You do not have to debate every distraction. You do not have to negotiate with every excuse. You simply ask, would the person I am becoming choose this? That question can change everything. Every morning, take a few moments to mentally step into your future. Feel the confidence of the person you are becoming. See yourself doing the work. See yourself overcoming the obstacle. See yourself continuing after the excitement fades. Then open your eyes and take one action that proves the vision is not just a fantasy, because the future does not belong to the person who only dreams about change. It belongs to the person who uses the vision of tomorrow to influence the choices they make today. What if the reason you feel overwhelmed is not because you have too much to do, but because you have never decided what matters most? Every morning, millions of people begin their day with a long list of tasks, endless notifications, unfinished responsibilities, and dozens of competing priorities. They move from one thing to another, constantly busy but rarely focused. At the end of the day, they are exhausted, yet they still feel as if they have not truly moved forward. This is the trap of activity without clarity. Being busy is not the same as making progress. The human mind becomes powerful when it has direction. When your attention is scattered across 10 different priorities, your energy becomes diluted. You start one task, check your phone, respond to a message, remember another responsibility, and suddenly the day is disappearing. You are working, but you are not advancing with intention. That is why one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself each morning is this: what is the one action I can take today that would make this day a success? Not 5 actions, not 21. This does not mean that other responsibilities are unimportant. It means you identify the action with the greatest impact, the task that moves your life forward, the conversation you have been avoiding, the project that could create a new opportunity, the hour of focused study, the workout that strengthens your body and discipline, the decision that you have delayed because it makes you uncomfortable. Sometimes the most important action is not the easiest one. In fact, the action that can transform your life is often the action you keep postponing. You know what it is. You have thought about it repeatedly. You have told yourself you'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week, next month, and eventually another year has passed. Here's the hook. Your life can change dramatically because of one decision you make on an ordinary day. You do not need to change everything at once. You need to identify what matters most and give it your best energy. The moment you decide on your most important action, your mind becomes clearer. You no longer have to carry the weight of every possible task at the same time. You have a target, you have a direction, you have something specific to complete, but clarity requires honesty. And ask yourself, if I could accomplish only one meaningful thing today, what would create the greatest difference? Do not choose the task that simply feels comfortable. Choose the task that creates progress. Do not choose what gives you the temporary satisfaction of being busy. Choose what moves you closer to the life you say you want. Then protect that priority. Before the world begins demanding your attention, give your most important goal your best focus. Do not allow every notification to interrupt your purpose. Do not allow someone else's urgency to automatically become your priority. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes consistently, your results eventually appear. One focused hour can be more valuable than 10 distracted hours. One courageous conversation can accomplish more than months of avoidance. One completed project can create more momentum than 100 unfinished plans. And once you complete that one important action, something powerful happens inside you. You prove to yourself that you can create momentum. You begin to trust yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is constantly overwhelmed and start seeing yourself as someone who can make decisions and follow through. You do not need to conquer your entire future today. You need to win the next important moment, then the next one, then the next. When you wake up, ask yourself, what must I accomplish today to respect the person I am becoming? Write it down, make it specific, give it a time, then take action before excuses have time to grow. Because a focused life is not built by doing everything, it is built by consistently doing what matters most. What if the life you want is waiting on a decision you have been avoiding? Not a perfect plan, not a miracle, not permission from someone else. A decision. Because there is a moment in every person's life when they must stop negotiating with the version of themselves that keeps making excuses. You can continue repeating the same patterns, or you can decide that the pattern ends with you. You can keep waiting for the perfect time, or you can understand that the perfect time is often a story we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of beginning. A decision is different from a wish. A wish says, I hope my life changes. A decision says, I will change what I can control. A wish depends on circumstances. A decision creates responsibility. The moment you make a genuine decision, your standards begin to change. You stop asking, do I feel like doing this? And start asking, what does the person I am becoming do next? That question can transform your entire life. Most people are controlled by temporary emotions. When they feel motivated, they take action. When they feel tired, they stop. When they feel confident, they move forward. When they feel afraid, they retreat. But if your commitments depend entirely on how you feel, your future will always be controlled by your mood. Your emotions are real, but they are not always instructions. You can feel fear and still move. You can feel tired and still take one step. You can feel uncertain and still make progress. Here's the hook. You do not need to feel ready to begin. You become ready by beginning. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. Every time you do what you said you would do, you build self-trust. It may be something simple, waking up when you promised yourself you would, completing the workout, finishing the work, studying for the hour, refusing to return to a habit that has already taken enough from you. These actions may seem small, but your identity is built through repeated evidence. Your mind is always collecting evidence about who you are. If you repeatedly quit, it learns, I am someone who quits. If you repeatedly delay, it learns, I am someone who cannot follow through. But if you repeatedly take action despite discomfort, your mind begins to learn something new. I am someone who can trust myself. That is why commitment matters more than temporary excitement. Motivation may start the journey, but commitment carries you through the days. When motivation disappears, you must decide in advance who you will be when. Difficulty arrives. Because difficulty will arrive. There will be days when the plan fails. There will be moments when people doubt you. There will be mornings when you feel exhausted. There will be obstacles you never expected. The question is not whether challenges will appear. The question is who you will be when they do. Make a decision that your past will no longer be used as an excuse to avoid your future. You may have made mistakes, but you can learn from them. You may have wasted time, but you still have time. You may have taken the wrong path, but you can change direction. The fact that you made a poor decision yesterday does not mean you are required to repeat it today. You do not need to transform your entire life in one morning. You need to make one powerful decision and then support that decision with one powerful action. Then repeat it tomorrow and the next day. Over time, your choices become habits. Your habits become standards, and your standards begin to shape your identity. So make the decision. Decide that your excuses are no longer stronger than your goals. Decide that discomfort will not automatically make you quit. Decide that you will stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to become the person you know you can be. You are not required to know every step of the journey before you take the first one. You only need enough courage to take the next step, because one decision can change your direction. One commitment can change your habits. One habit can change your identity. And one new identity can change the entire future you once believed was impossible. So when you wake up tomorrow, remember this. You are not waking up to repeat yesterday. You are waking up with another opportunity to become someone new. You are waking up with another chance to choose discipline over excuses, action over fear, purpose over distraction, and growth over comfort. Take 10 minutes, reset your mind, reset your energy, reset your focus, then step in your day with intention. Because the moment you stop waiting for your life to change and start changing the way you show up every day, everything begins to move. Your past does not own you. Your circumstances do not define you. Your fear does not control you. You are still capable of change. You are still capable of growth. You are still capable of becoming the person you were meant to become. And sometimes the greatest transformation of your life begins with something incredibly simple. 10 minutes. One breath, one decision, one new version of you. Start today.